Musa, you may have to unmute if you are muted, please.
Hi, good evening,
Oh,
and
great.
thank you for having me.
Absolutely. It's a Friday, so I won't take a lot of your time, just a few minutes on your latest national tracker on some of the major events in Ghana, including that of the members of parliament. Let's go straight into action. You have the national tracking pool for September, and I've gotten it about over 100-page document. And where I'm so much interested in is the performance of the MPs, where I want us to more or less focus on. You indicated that respondents for that very survey or polls was some 9,497, and I noticed in your report that some 83 randomly selected constituencies were taken out of the 16 regions. Some 83 randomly selected constituencies were taken, and confidence in that very poll is some 99%, and some margin of error plus or minus 1.3. Mr. Mussa Dankwah, please take me through what you mean by these polls when you say the performance of the not ministers, the performance of the members of parliament.
Thank you very much for having me. What we do is to visit constituencies every 90 days. And then we do ask them several questions regarding governance issues of the country, the performance of the president, and the performance of the government as a whole, and a wide range of issues, including how they assess the performance of their own members of parliament. Now here, the idea is that people are able to, by whatever means, tell us overall how they assess the performance of their members of parliament. It gives you a snapshot of what the thinking is in those electoral areas we sampled. It is by no means the entire constituency, because it is not the focus of the survey to look at the entire constituency. But the samples that were deployed in that constituency, that's the view that we are getting. And over time, with several visits, we tend to get the kind of average feel of the people in the constituency. So overall, if you look at the data that we published, across the country, about 68% of voters assess the performance of their MPs as either excellent, very good, or good, which is over 2/3, quite high. And only 18% are rating them as poor or very poor. And for average performance nationally, it's about 14%. So it gives you a broad view of what people are thinking or saying about their members of parliament. And then also, if you look at this data across various regions in terms of how they perform or rate their own MPs, now you will find out that in the Bono East, about 83% of the people rate their MPs as excellent, very good, or good, followed by Upper West region, about 78%, Volta region, also 78%. So the top three is Bono East, Upper West, and Volta region. And then to the bottom, those regions that are rating their MPs quite low in terms of excellence, you have Savannah region, only 60% are saying they've done excellent, very good, or good. In Western region, it is 56%, and the Eastern region, about 53%. The lowest region, with the lowest ranking for their MPs in terms of excellent performance is Eastern region.
That's quite interesting. Now, I want you to take me through when you refer to, if you like, performance of MPs. What are the indicators, or one would say the ingredients? I know you don't ask many questions from your respondents, but in your mind, when we say an MP is performing, what do you think would be the indicators these people you surveyed will be looking at before they would say he has performed excellently or averagely or poorly?
Look, there are the technical people who want to use a very complicated measure to assess MP's performance. Some use his work in parliament, works in the committee level, and so on and so forth. But to the voter who sees the MP, he sees the MP as what? Development agent. Because while the MP was campaigning, the MP was promising things. Will help you do A, B, C, D. And also, the MPs usually show up in programs, funerals, naming ceremonies, and all those public events. So when you ask the voter how he assesses the performance of the MP, he looks at the MP vis-a-vis these things that they publicly promised that they will do. And largely, those things doesn't include passing laws. So when you are talking to voters in the constituency, they look at the interactions he has with the MP, how regular they see him, how engaging that MP is, whether the MP has been championing their local issues in terms of pursuing interests for their roads or schools or any other things that needs fixing. He may not be the one fixing it, but he becomes a champion or advocate for those development. Once they see him do that, they tend to rate him very high. Now, if they don't see you doing those things, but you spend your time heavily in parliament for committee level kind of things, they don't see that kind of activity. So for them, you're not doing anything. So we ask them to give us overall assessment, whether using their work in parliament, using their social interactions, using their advocacy, and so on and so forth. Overall, how would they assess the performance of the MP? And they will tell you what they think. I mean, people have said that you could have asked them about how they rate him on A, B, C, D, E. Yes, you can do that. But at the end of the day, you will still ask him, how would he overall assess the performance? And for us, we are focusing on the overall performance, which is subjective to the views of the voter, because it is that view that translates into actually voting for the person.
Mr. Mussa Dankwah, don't you think that even though they go about seeking for the votes of these constituents and go about promising, don't you think the mindset of our people, the constituents, the people, contradicts the work, the core work and mandate of a member of parliament to be in parliament and enact laws, make sure we have good laws for this republic? Do we have to look at the performance of the member of parliament with his social advocacy works and how much he spends at funeral, buying coffins and throwing party here and going out with people and all of that? Don't you think it's about time we educate the populace or the citizens about the role of the MP so they can rate the performance of an MP based on what he is doing in parliament?
Yes, certainly so. It is good to educate them. But how often do you hear these MPs on the campaign trail promising about passing laws? I have never heard any MP saying my work would involve doing this in the law, changing this law, in that law. I have never heard that. You hear them creating jobs. That's what they say in the campaign promise. We'll create jobs, we'll build hospitals, we'll do this. So based on what you promised them, that is what they will judge you on. So until they stop campaigning using these things, I think people will be right to judge them based on those criteria.
Would you consider a peer review of members of parliament, a pool that would peer review members of parliament to see the performance of this one is for the constituents, people on the ground, what Ghanaians are saying at Esiojamai, where I come from, okay, or here in Adenta, where I am working. But this one, it is among the members of parliament, 276, they peer review themselves by indicating to Global InfoAnalytics that this MP is doing well based on this committee job, etc. Would you consider something like this?
No, we don't have resources to do that. We focus on what we have money to fund and to help us to do our predictions. These are something that a group like Parliamentary Network can do. We don't want to take people's jobs. We are posters. We're not focusing on peer reviewing of parliamentary MPs and so on and so forth. That is the work of other entities who are better resourced, better funded, to do that. We will stick with what we do, opinion polls and just opinion polls.
That's very excellent. Mr. Mussa Dankwah, I thank you so much. And I don't know if you have something. There's more. I have to peruse your document so I can interrogate it well. But I don't know if you have something more to share with us with respect to this national tracker pool, this September national tracker pool you want to share with us, please.
I mean, basically, if you look at the data that we've just released, one thing that we can say is that MP's performance across board looks very good. You are able to see MPs who are getting cross-party support, supported by MPP voters, NDC voters, and floating voters. So you can see a lot of them are getting that kind of support. So it means that when you are doing something right, regardless of wherever you are, the people will see it and they will notice it and they will recognize you for doing that. So the time where we think the country is too partisan, I think is probably dwindling. We've seen a lot of people giving thumbs up for NDC voters who are not in their region, but in the MPP stronghold, and vice versa. In fact, the highest approval of NDC voters went to MPP opposition MP, Etua East. And then the highest support for MPP voters went to NDC candidate. I think are catching off. So people are really looking at individuals and what they do, what they're contributing to their various constituencies, and giving them marks accordingly. So they should work hard. And if they, the report shows that you are lacking in something, you have to find out and see what else you can do to improve your chances of obtaining your seat.
Before you take leave of us, I understand I've been joined by security expert and social analyst, Mr. Ibad Ibrahim. Mr. Ibad Ibrahim, thank you for joining us. Good evening to you, sir.
And good evening. How are you? And good evening to my senior brother.
Good evening to you, Irbad.
Absolutely, sir. We are taking a good look at the Global InfoAnalytics, if you like, September National Tracker Poll they have done, and it's critical of the performance of members of parliament. I know you have gone through it and you've seen some few things. Maybe you have something to indicate to us as we have Mr. Mussa Dankwah on the line before he takes leave of us. Mr. Ibad Ibrahim, please, you can have your bite now.
I would want to congratulate, as I do always, my senior brother, Mussa Dankwah. And there was a huge vacuum within the space he is operating in currently. And mind you, the ratings are hitting the roof. And I believe that the consistent work he and his operatives on the ground do every quarter is novel, and it keeps us updated. Usually, winning an election is seen as an event rather than a process. So if I were a political party, I would have InfoAnalytics as one of my kitchen advisors, so to speak. So kudos to you, senior. And then we are solidly behind you. The rhetoric in terms of why an MP wants to go to parliament has to change. When you look at first world countries, MPs